Greetings, comrades. Welcome back to Kerbal Space Program. In today's episode, we'll start off by just reviewing our progress so far, including in the last episode, which was of course not narrated. But I will say today is a really great day because I received printed copies of one of the books that I co-authored, and another one of my book chapters about Mars was published today. Well, technically the date is the 16th, it's the 15th now, but it's already online, so that's another thing. At least, you know, I have to celebrate somehow. But in any case, that aside, I think we'll start just by looking here at our calendar, of course. Now, this is the one showing the days, that's why it's capitalized here. So in this case, I of course also included the various pulsar launches that we had in the last episode. So we are now up to week 8, as you can see here. So that was pulsar 9D. And you would have seen also, and we'll get to that in a moment, that I did slightly change the pulsar rocket, but it was really just a minor change. Now, the reason why I thought to do that, to alter the, or not to alter the rocket, to actually make the episode without narration, was just to basically, you know, since it's basically the same stuff as we did before, just to get that one done so we can move on to the exciting part, which is of course our orbital launch, which we'll do today. So the point is still to have that experience shared by all the comrades, but you can easily skip between the highlights of that episode. So in any case, you would have seen all of these launches there. I also included chapters on the time stamps, you know, so you can see all the different parts of that episode. So now that we're at the start of week 8 here, we can actually skip to the next month, and I think this is when we'll do our first orbital launch, one of these days. That's of course the Monday again, and these are the days off, the weekends. Let's just skip to the weeks as well. So this of course again is capitalized because it shows the weeks, not the days. So every week we've had a suborbital rocket launch, sounding rocket, and it's generally well paced, which is what I want. Of course, the first week we did a lot of them, 2 of them on the very first day, but after that, of course, we started pacing it a bit better. So now we'll be moving on to the first week of the second month. So, of course, we still have many months left and many weeks left. Then, of course, I just have to remember to also include anything today in the ASO. Of course, I already have the designator ready. So it would be the first year, of course it's 0001, and the first launch. I decided to use the same format as the real life international designator, so with the zeros included, and then this would be the A, which would be the payload. Right, then let's go to our basic rule book here. I do have some of these things as well, but we'll still get to some of these. For example, I did say the workday is 2 hours, but of course it depends. If you're in space, then your workday is when your workday is, you know. I do want us to use RCS more and minimal reaction wheels. Like I also said in the episode before last, I want as little throttling of main engines as possible. It's not totally forbidden, but you know, just for that little bit of extra realism. We also cannot transfer crew if it's not reasonably connected to another vehicle. So you can't transfer them through another fuel tank, for example, unless of course we emptied that. Even if those vehicles are docked, they have to make sense for the crew to pass through them. We also cannot accept contracts if we're not confident that they can be done. We also have to train all of the new crew through the different stages, but we still have to do that with our existing crew as well. And of course, what I'm talking about is this part here. If we want to do a mission duration 3, then we have to train people first by going through one, you know, the short stay, then 1, then 2, and then get them ready for that mission. Then the next one, Also, no overly cramped spaces. Of course, for duration level 0, well, it's not actually 1 here, but for the short stay, it doesn't matter because you're going to space for less than 1 day. So if you're going in a very small capsule, very crowded one like the Gemini capsules used to be, then that's okay. Even if it's for extended duration level 1, up to a week. But you really don't want to put Kerbals through that for more than 1 week. So I'm not too sure if we'll change this rule later on, but as a basic rule of thumb, I just thought for every duration level beyond level 1, we have to have 1 extra seat for each Kerbal. So basically doubling the space by duration 2. So if we send up 2 Kerbals, it has to have space for 4. By this one, it has to have space for 6, 8, and 10 essentially. Because if you're going on a multi-year mission, you can't just sit in one seat. You have to have room to move around. Of course, the Kerbals don't do that, but for role-playing purposes, you know. I don't want spacewalks to generally be longer than 2 hours and 15 minutes. I worked it out because I saw on Earth, or for Earth space programs, spacewalks are not longer than 9 hours. I think the longest one ever was just under 9 hours, but the ESA has a rule that it's not longer than 9 hours. So I worked out what is the percentage of 9 hours out of a 24-hour day, and I think it's 37.5. And then 37.5% out of 6 hours is 2 hours and 15 minutes. So this is the maximum length of a spacewalk for our Kerbal space program. These are just some more rules for naming. We'll have to revise this, for example, with the pulsar that we have now. You had, for example, the Titan Centaur. So the Titan is, of course, the main booster. The Centaur is the upper stage. It's things like STS-1, that was of course the shuttles, the space transportation system, so that you name your missions by just the designation like that. Then the numbering here I will change now today, because with the changes to the Pulsar rocket, I've just named it then Pulsar 2 and 3 and 4 and so on, and then B, etc. I'll just skip down to the vehicle catalog. I do have it here. So the B variant removed the upper stage. The C variant attempts recovery through the parachutes, even though in the last episode that did not work. They crashed each time for some reason. And the D variant included a reaction wheel in the top, but of course it wasn't really useful for stabilizing the capsule, because once you separate the capsule, the reaction wheel was still in the booster itself. So it was not that very successful. But in any case, but for the future, I think these should not be full, A, B, C, D variants. Those should be 1, 2, 3, and 4. I'll still work a bit on this, but for example, if we saw you had the Titan 1, that's one type of a rocket of a Titan. Then you had a Titan 2, that's a different variant. Then you had the Titan 3. And then you had sub-variants of that, which were Titan 3B, Titan 3C, Titan 3D, and so on. So this is the kind of designation that I want to use. So technically then, I guess we're still on Pulsar 1, A, B, C, D, E, etc. But this is still the early days, so it doesn't matter. But now with the orbital one, I want to standardize our naming convention. Of course, Eagle, etc. You have many different overlapping names. For example, the Apollo missions, that was the name of the overall thing, but the Saturn V was the name of the booster. And then you, of course, had the sub-boosters like the Saturn 4B and so on. And then, of course, you also had the Eagle, and I think one of them was called Snoopy as well. So the command module had a name and the lander had a name. So we'll have to keep all of this in mind. Then if we just skip below all of this to the log. So of course I still put all of this in our log every time. There was Uncle Mike, Nominal Penguin, and I think Nominal Penguin was the last one that I did for the episode before last. That's when we finally, no, it was actually J Banks. That's when we completed our first tourist mission, which was the VIP one. So these ones were in the last episode, which was not narrated, but I still use all the names and I still do all of the tracking here. So we can see Valentina and Trabas did a mission, then it was Jebediah and Deramoni, and then it was Valentina and Edlo, then it was again Jebediah and Bartbel. So I do rotate the crew. Then it was again Valentina and Gluki, or Glukel, I guess, was the tourist's name there. And then, of course, I still make the notes like the reuse failed there. That was the first time we had a reaction wheel in a spacecraft. Who was the client? Where was the launch site? When was it launched? What was the cost? What was the altitude that they reached? Things like that. This is interesting because it's forming our history of our space program. That was also our first night launch and night landing. Pulsar 6B then, Speedboy GT. That was really interesting because we took off in the night, then we saw the sun, and then we landed back in the night again. So, you see, I don't want you to miss things like that. I just won't always narrate them if it's things that we already perfected. Not, I won't do that all the time, but in this case it made sense because we finally perfected the VIP flight, and then it was easy to just repeat that quickly with all of the others so that we got more money and prestige. Right, so those ones we have. Let's just think also, of course, I have to take care of the end-of-life disposal and the space mitigation, space debris mitigation standards. But that won't really be a thing yet because we're just going up and then staying in orbit for a short while. Right, there's the space debris thing again. Now, if we just go back to the calendar, the crew roster I also made that I said before I will make one like this. So these are the 4 crew members. Of course, you know them, you love them. Their various roles, when they were hired, what is their status, how many flights they had, what type was the last one, or the maximum one that they've done. So, of course, all of them were only suborbital. And what was the maximum duration, which is all the very first one. Actually, that should be 0 technically because duration level 1 is the extended duration level 1. So it's less than a day, basically. So, of course, I'll keep adding new data to all of this. I usually do that when I'm editing the video, so I can just put in the information quickly. But I did want to show you this, just so you see it's still happening and we just recap everything quickly. Right, it's time to get back into our episode, comrades, and continue from there. Right, comrades, here we are back again. So this is still day 44, and the sun has just set as you saw in the last episode. By the way, did you see there's also a new video on the KSP channel where they explain some more about KSP2, and we actually get a really great view inside the VAB. I thought that was very interesting how you can have multiple sub-assemblies at the same time and procedural wings and all things like that. It should be really, really fun to get that eventually. But for now, of course, we still have KSP1, and I'll keep playing KSP1 in the future still. We'll be the old veterans who still remember KSP1 when everybody else just knows the second, or possibly one day a third one, who knows. Anyway, I think let's just skip ahead now. I just want to check my calendar again. Right, so we need to go to day 49 for a Monday of the first day of the second month. And there we are. So it's of course daytime in the desert again. So here we are, it's Monday, it's the first week and the first day of the second month, and we are ready to do our first orbital launch. Let's just have a look what's available here for us now. Of course, now we have lots and lots of Kerbals who want to have suborbital flights, which is, it's great. I actually should do more of these, but now we'll get some orbital requests as well, of course. So here's the main one, Orbit Kerbin. we'll take this one and we'll just see if there's anything else. Here is a TD25 decoupler orbiting Kerbal, but that's too high. I don't want us to go that high yet. Splashdown, destinations, high G, I don't want to do that. You have to be careful that they pass out just at the right time, and we don't have probe control yet. I think this is the only one we'll do. Right, so let's prepare our vehicle. And of course we will be out of contact here for most of the flight, and we'll still launch from the desert, of course. Now, we do still have the orbit module here that we built a long time ago. So I think we'll keep this exactly as it is now. So of course the heat shield is there, it's ready to go. And then of course this module as well. But now here is the new naming convention. We have to now get consistent with our naming conventions. So for this one I'm going to go to our sub-assemblies, which I don't use nearly enough. And I want to create a subcategory here. I've never done this. Let's see if it works as I expect it to. Now let's think about this. I want one for upper stages. Now what would be a good upper stage icon? Not satellites like that, not landers. Planes. This one right here, let's take that. So this would be a new sub-assembly one, and that one is going to be, actually I can name this upper stages. This is great, I've never done that. Good, now this is going to be our first formalized upper stage. Now I'll include the decoupler, it doesn't matter, of course we can change that in the future, but this is a new type of upper stage, like you get the Centaur for example, or the Agena. This has to be something like that. Now I just have to think of a name for this. So I'll just go to my database and I'll be back in a moment. Right, I have one. So this will be the Meteor upper stage. Then in the future, of course, if we have a bigger one, then we can call that the Meteor 2. Or something like that. Let me think, what different variations were there of the Centaur booster or upper stage? I'll just have a look quickly. Yes, well, they have different letters for different purposes. I think we'll say this is the Meteor A upper stage. So this is the most basic version, then we'll just call them B, C, D, E and so on. Or possibly if we have another small one, we'll call that a B, otherwise it will be a Meteor 2A. Getting kind of complicated, but this should be good. Yes, I think we should keep that one consistent, the same thing that we do with the other boosters as well. So we'll name this actually, so this is the Meteor, and then I'll say in brackets 1A. So 1 is the class here. Of course, now I just have to do the naming properly. There. So I want to put in Centaur. Meteor 1A. That's the lightest class and the A variant. And how much does this weigh? Of course now it's impossible to open that. It doesn't matter, but I'll just say smallest, or actually it's not the smallest because we could eventually have the smallest diameter as well, but this is the first one, so we'll know because it's the 1A. Right, that's the Meteor. Then I'll just delete these copies that I made. Then of course we also need a name for the capsule. Now actually we do already have that, or do we? Of course for these we have Onion and P. For this one it's just a command pod, so we should come up with a name for this, you know, in its very simplest variant, with a heat shield, parachute and the capsule. So what shall this be? Again, this could be the Mercury capsule or the Gemini capsule, things like that. So I'll just, and then this of course will also give us the mission name. So I'll just go and find one for this. Why not call this the Nova capsule? Then one day when we have the big 3-person variant, we'll call that the Supernova. Why not? That sounds like fun. The other ones, of course, already have the name, so but that's again for just the design. We'll still need names for the missions then. But in this case, I just want to see now how I'm going to save this. I'll just have to use a decoupler again. And then actions, because this is going to be the first part of a craft actually. It's not going to work for a sub-assembly. Now I just want to see, am I perfectly happy with the way that the heat shield sits here? Because this is the template for all others like it. Now of course we have that dark line there. Just like that. And the heat shield is full at the moment, the ablator, but we can change that on a per mission basis. The same with the monopropellant. I'll fill them up just as the default and then we can reduce them again. So this one will be called the Nova. And we'll just say 1 Kerbal command part or command module after the Apollos, of course, the CM. Right, this will do. We'll save this and everything else will be built out from that. Now of course this is also going to be, we don't have the flag parts yet, so this is going to be for our space program, so we'll use the official flag for this one. Then we now have this, so now of course we go and put on the Meteor. Just have to go back to that now. So upper stages, there's the Meteor. Of course this is where the small adjustments have to come back. I just need to move this up again. Make sure that they are not clipping there. That's perfect. So we're done with this now. Right. Now we get back to the booster that we know and love already. So I'll open up, don't save, one of the ones that we did last time. Svorniak gameplay, I think that was 10D, the last one. Let's just see. Now it was actually 9D. As you could have seen in that episode, I skipped 9D and then I just came back to that one. So this was actually the last one. Now this is of course the basic booster here, as we saw with the pulsar adjustment with the fins and the parachutes, which didn't work. But we'll of course keep this as the pulsar. I just want to keep going back to the action groups for some reason. It's all of these extra things now. There. So I'll keep it exactly like it is without the variants. Should we still have this? No, not for the basic model, because this one has the wheel authority there. So now we go back and now we already have the upper stages, so now we'll do the core boosters. And I think this is going to be for the strap-on boosters on the side, so we'll take this one for the core boosters. Or the serial boosters anyway, not the parallel ones. So then I'll take this again, let's say with the decoupler, and just put it in here, and this is the pulsar, and of course now 1. And again we'll call it the 1A, the original variant. Right, so now everything has a name. And we'll still call the overall mission the Nova as well. So I think this works out nicely. Let's just make sure this thing can do what we want it to do. So now of course check your staging. So the first stage. Then we also need to release the launch clamp. Then separate there. Then fire that, and then the parachute. Now let's just see if we go to vacuum. First actually just altitude and see if this thing can take off. 1.15, that's very little. And if we go to vacuum, we get 349 meters per second out of that upper stage. So in truth, the booster needs to take us all the way. Basically like the Mercury Atlas, the Atlas rocket. Now I'm wondering if we shouldn't have some extra boosters for this. Of course we don't have other forms of decoupling yet. That's not quite going to be enough, I think. And of course this has all of the tanks full. Now we do have the Reliant, but then again we can't use gimbling with that one. I just want to see if there's another possibility of extending this perhaps. We do have our limit still here with the mass. Let's just see if we can do that. Then this will be already the first variant of the pulsar again. We take this off here. And ask Jebediah Kerman's company to design us an even more powerful booster or rocket engine at least than the swivel. But of course the compromise is they cannot make it gimbal, and so they agreed to do that for us for 3.2 million Kerbal dollars. And the result of this is, let's just put this on again. So that's 1.45, that's much better even with the extra tank there. Now why do we still have this empty stage there? Then of course we separate. Is that going to be enough? It should now be enough, but then of course we need to put the fins on. At the very least we'll need 2 of them. Just to get our pitch going, but that puts us over the top with the mass now. I suppose we could use the reaction wheel in the command pod to do this whole gravity turn maneuver, but that doesn't sound like a good idea. What if we use the small ones? We're just under with the mass now. Let's try it, we'll try it, and if it doesn't work then we'll try it again. So of course I just have to now put the sub-assembly back here again, so that's the Pulsar 1A. Now this is not a fundamentally different type of booster, so this is the Pulsar 1B, so it's just a variant of the 1. Right, then this will be Mission Nova 1. I'm already going to 2. And then of course the comrade who gets the honor of having their name on the first attempt at orbital flight is Comrade Mario Hernandez. Not with a question mark, it should be with an exclamation, but that'll do there. Mario Hernandez, welcome. Let's see if this works out. Now there's no point really to put antennas or anything on this because we will be out of contact, but at least we'll see if we cannot land or pass the KSC to at least have a confirm of our first orbit. We're not going to go for too much more than just one orbit, so we'll land in the ocean east of the KSC if it goes well. Now of course, as we know, we have to put an abort in this thing somehow. So I'll plan the abort. I think we'll need obviously something to just try and take us away from the booster, but that engine there is not going to be powerful enough. So I'll just make decouple, and custom 10 as always is the parachute. Then the abort is also going to have cutting the engine. Just in case. Just in case. Right, save. And this will still be launched from the desert. I will see you there, comrades. Right, here we are. This is the Nova, so it's the Pulsar Nova rocket with the... No, it's the Pulsar Meteor rocket with the Nova capsule. There we go. We're getting there, slowly. You know, it's growing pains as we just try and figure things out as a new space program. We've only been around for a month anyway, so we have to start somewhere. Now let's see, Jebediah, yes, you're right. You had a mission last week, so it's been a week. You are prepared to go again. And I think that's all. There's no other steps. We're not doing science on this mission. So I'll wait until 1:30 again, just as is our custom now. And then do my countdown again. And then I'll put on some music, because I think that fits with the gravitas of this moment. 30 seconds. 20 seconds. 50. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Ignition and liftoff. Abort. No, we're not going to do that if it starts getting out of control. Then we have to abort. That's a much more sensible thing. I think we're getting smarter as Kerbals now. So yes, it was quite an interesting situation, I was thinking, because Jebediah is going up in a rocket using an engine developed by his own company. So it's actually a really interesting situation going on here. But from the start, the rocket was doing its own thing, so that's why we're basically going to the west now instead of the east. So I thought, well, I can't really fight that, so we'll just have to roll with it. But it was totally starting to lose control there. And from now on, because we're considering ourselves more of a proper agency now, we have to be a lot more careful. So we're getting up to about 39 kilometers here. Always I counted above sea level for our logs. Yes, it could have gone worse. I'll say it's a partial failure, but we didn't reach our objective here. I'm sorry, Mario Hernandez, but we'll try again. And Jeb didn't go quite as far as he was hoping, but at least he is coming back down in one piece. I think we'll try the original pulsar again, just because we definitely do need that gimbal. There's no way around it, but at least from a failed mission, we still had the development of an even more powerful rocket engine. So that will definitely be useful down the road. Right, now that also means, because there was an abort, that Valentina is going to have the next slot. You know, it's just like with the Apollo missions, and even with the Mercury and Gemini missions, there was a roster, you know. If a certain crew is not available, then you go to another crew, but it's all arranged. You don't just slap a crew together, unless of course it's Apollo 13 and one of them gets sick, which is not really getting sick, but they were being cautious there. So now we're on day 49. I think we'll go to the Friday then, which is the Eve day, just to give our engineers enough time. No, we'll go to the next week. It's the right thing to do. So I'll just see when is the next Monday. So the next Monday is day 55. So that's our next launch window. Yes, let's be proper about it. So now we're analyzing the failure here. What happened? What can we do better? And the days are passing here. And there is day 55. What's the situation in the desert now? Is it dark already? And we have some junk as well. Splashed down. It's actually landed there. But anyway, I don't know why it's splashed down. Let's have a look. This must be a piece of the booster here. Let's go have a look. So Mario Hernandez, you didn't quite disappear. You somehow stuck in there. Well, how? Whoops, what in the... Okay, somehow it went through the land here, but it blew up anyway. Oh well, you were there until I looked, so it's like Schröding... I can't say that name usually. Schrödinger's cat, but with a rocket booster. So let's have a look at the next one. I want to switch to that one. Looks like I'll have to do it in the tracking station. So this was actually Pulsar 1, the R4 gaming debris. We'll fly it and then we'll recover it if we can. This was definitely not a planned landing here. This just happened to survive. What are you? You are a tank with a decoupler. Well, guess what? We're recovering you and using you on the next mission. Something survived at least. Right, it's still day 55, so let's prepare because night is falling on the DLS, the Desert Launch Site. Now in this case I will open the one that we have here, and then I'll just take the Pulsar off and get the original one. Sub-assemblies, core boosters, Pulsar 1A. This is going to work great actually, I think. This whole system of organizing the parts. Now, of course, staging is messed up every time, but we can fix that. And we'll just see if this goes anywhere. So this is Nova 2 then. And a new comrade gets a chance, and that comrade is Imperial Jaffa. Welcome, I wish you luck. Let's see if this one makes it. And we'll save that, and we will of course include Valentina first. And then we'll go back to the DLS. Right, it's just after sunset actually, but the sun is just disappearing. It's actually not a bad time to launch. So in this case again we'll pretend we've been preparing, so it will launch at 2:30 again. So let's fast forward. Right. 30 seconds. Do a test of the onboard computer and throttle. 20 seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Ignition and liftoff. Right, in this case I will throttle because we're starting to push the G's out of the optimum zone. So again we'll pretend there is some leverage for throttling the engines. I think we'll go to 125. And then I will restart this engine. That's where the flexibility of the whole thing comes in, otherwise it's going to be too convoluted. Right, this one looks better. Of course you have to be very careful managing the thing, especially through max Q, otherwise it wants to flip there. And Valentina is in space. Have to manage her power. So of course this is just going to be basically one main orbit. She is the first one, I think. That should be more than enough actually. Of course we don't know when we get to apoapsis, but you can just watch your prograde approach the horizon. Now I'm starting to question if we will make it. Let's find out. Right, let's keep it in the green for the most part. And then we'll see. Main engine cut off. Second stage. Very vigorous there. We're not gonna make it. We're not gonna make it. We'll be just short. Right. I'm leaving some fuel. There's no point pushing it further, because then we'll just take longer to come back, because there's not enough. There's not enough. Just not enough. Interesting quandary here. I think we'll have to rearrange the whole thing. Make the upper stage bigger and the first stage smaller. Well, so where are we re-entering? Of course, basically the other side of the planet, but it will be before then due to the drag, of course. Right, let's go. She is at least the longest in space, so that's already an achievement, and she will travel by far the furthest from the launch site. Right, we are already coming down, so I'll just separate this. This doesn't count as an orbital flight yet, so I won't register this in the outer space objects index. That's way too much reaction control still. Anyway, this part I'll speed up, so I'll see you on the ground, comrades. Right, Valentina almost made it, so it looks like it can be Jeb again. But at least this time we did a good test of the heat shield at near orbital re-entry speeds. So we know we can remove most of the ablator. I'll leave 40 or 50 left. Let's recover. So now we have to start seeing what to do without really starting to upgrade the launch pad and things like that. Right, so there was some 66% value back. Science, not really, no. And no XP. She did, however, get the water splashdown and the horizontally Mach 3 ribbon. There, so at least that's something. So now I think we'll skip again to the next Monday, or it can be another day, let's say the next Wednesday, which is of course the Mo day, so that would be on day 63. Again, everything doesn't happen immediately, we have to leave some time for that. I just should actually, before we go to day 63, I just want to see if there's any other interesting contract that we might pair up with this one. High G, destinations, splashdown. Other parachutes? No, I don't think so. No. Continue to day 63. We have to randomize it, not always do it on a Monday. And it's day 63 and it's already night at the DLS. So I guess we'll do it the done day or the Thursday then. If it's not sunrise by the time the DLS comes around. No, so okay, I think we'll then still keep it the Mo day, the Wednesday. It'll just be around 5:30 then. So we'll leave this and then we'll start working again on this thing called Rocketry, which we're still trying to master here. Okay, now this was the Nova 2, so the first thing is again, we should take out the monopropellant. It will make a little bit of a difference, so it's probably just worthwhile. Taking out most of this, leaving around 40, that should be fine. So that does reduce our mass here at least a little bit. Let's see. Yes, a couple of 100 kilograms. That's definitely worthwhile. Everything is already full here, so what else can we do? That one is of course not full. That's interesting. Well, it is now. I can't remember. I think I took it out for the suborbital flights, but we never did that. So, well, the problem solves itself then. But now, of course, can we get off the ground? That's the other question. 1.15. Now, if we have a look in a vacuum, that gives us 899. Oh, yes, that's more than enough. So this one should work then, provided we don't flip over. Now, do we have the abort ready? Decouple and custom 10. Yes. Always should be ready for that. Luckily, our launch stand is working very well here. So this will be the Nova 3. And our comrade will be Pup Mars. Welcome. Let's hope the Mars is a good sign that we're actually going somewhere. Now, it will be a very difficult thing getting off the launch pad with a TWR of 1.15. But I don't want to now mess around again with the Reliant. I wonder if we shouldn't have some... No, but we can't separate them. You know, just like the Atlas again, having the extra engines and then dropping them. So I don't think it's really going to be worthwhile doing that. Let me just think about it for a moment. It's making it a little too convoluted. Having that extra upper stage fuel is good. So we don't have to change anything with the naming of the Pulsar or the Meteor. It's just extra fuel, so it's no structural changes yet. Right, luckily all that extra contract money is coming in handy now, right, comrades? So it's a good thing I did those extra missions. Now, Pup Mars, you are ready, and it is going to be, of course, with Jebediah again, so he may yet have his chance. So let's go to the DLS. Right. Looking a bit dark, but the sun should be rising soon. And then it's actually good because we're flying into the sunrise. Now, I think it's also really good the way that we're doing things with the comrade names, because just like with the Apollo missions, you had the lander have a name like Eagle again, and you also had the command module have a name. So in those cases, we'll name the one after a comrade and the other also after a comrade. And I don't see any other KSP YouTubers do that. I think it's really important to actually let people be part of the experience, whether it's good or bad. In any case, let's speed up to 5:30 to our launch time, and then we will see if this one works out. And there's a magnificent sunrise on the way. 30 seconds. That's very nice. Have to have a picture of that for the history books. This might be the one, comrades. Let's take another picture. Right, 15 seconds. Just hang on to your hats for this launch because it's gonna be crawling here. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, ignition. That's okay actually. That's better than the one that we had long time ago when it was so slow off the pad. Anyway, let's go. Right, let's stop it at about 75. So Valentina got higher up, but I think keeping it lower is better in this case. Let's save the fuel for horizontal motion. Right, it went well. I had to throttle down again by 1/3 just so again we don't burn everything up there. We still have to make quite a bit of a turn there. So we are on our way. Jebediah is looking happy. Of course, he's completely on his own. There's no radio contact here. We'll still have to do those base stations and satellites. And almost in orbit or space, getting ahead of myself. Right, he's in space. Now let's forward again. This one should be a win for us. Let's just get to about there. And then start the burn. Again about 2/3 only. Yes, little bit too, not the problem really, but you know, we want to stay in the green for the most part. Now we're getting up to 3 Gs almost. See, and then that instant deceleration. But anyway, there's the main engine cutoff, and the second one, which we have to, this one of course we can throttle much better and restart multiple times. Then this should be a W for us. So there we go, we're now passing the yeah, that's it, he's the first one. Okay, it's a bit uneven, that's alright. We are in orbit, comrades. It feels like an achievement. This is how it should be. It shouldn't just be an instant win. We should earn this And that's exactly what we did. Let's go to free camera, which I love for the orbital view. And of course, all of these parameters are now done. Achieve the goal, which makes us back all our money that we lost through the partial failures. It's never a total failure unless someone dies, I think. Or if it's just like a satellite that we can't put in an orbit, then it's a failure. We're staying in space. I want to take a picture of that. F1. Yes, that's the view, of course. Take a picture of that. So they're still looking. Great job. And then we have 24,000 and a bit of science and more prestige. So now, of course, Jeb can enjoy the view. Let's slightly rotate. That's why we still need some reaction wheel control, but that's another thing I have to actually tone down a little bit. In this case, we'll say 10%. So Pop Mars, well done. You took us to orbit here, and Jeb is very happy. He's now back in contact with the main space complex, and we'll do one orbit and then splash down somewhere in that area. Of course, my customary music, I want my customary music for any time when there's an orbit. Are you ready? Right, time to plan our re-entry. I think we can actually burn at this point. Of course, we can still use the trajectory mod, but probably we should wait because we don't have the next level of the tracking station. So we can't even do maneuver nodes, so getting precise trajectory information doesn't seem appropriate. But we certainly have enough fuel, so that was really the limiting factor there. But in any case, we have to learn, right, comrades? It actually made it more interesting as a roleplay experience that we had to do it several times. Right, we'll just bring that down. So, of course, this will become Object 1A, as we said before, with the orbital tracking index. So I'll just put that in for us. And then we just go back. We'll be passing over our launch site, so that makes it one full orbit. Even though we're already in the atmosphere, it counts. We end up a lot further away. Right, separate. Separation successful. Let's have a look inside. Hey, Jeb is sitting there. You see, this is more how it should be done. Not upside down, but right side up and then obviously to the back. I will see you on the ground or in the water, wherever we may end up, comrades. Here we go. And splashdown. We didn't make it all the way to the space center, but that's alright. We passed the point where we lifted off, so it still works. And of course we're still technically an amateur space agency, so we're still working these things out. Now, how long was the flight? Jeb's historic flight was 44 minutes long, so he's happy it's a short duration flight. And then let's recover this. Maybe no, we don't open it here to get water samples. Let's not do that. We'll do dedicated missions for that. So recover. And we get 10 science from that flight. Plus, of course, the funds that we did get back. And Jeb has 1 XP extra, and he is our first level 1 pilot. Now let's see what they give him. He gets again the Mach 2 one. It's interesting, I think he had the Mach 3 one before, now he gets the Mach 2 one. First Kerbal orbit ribbon, this is the critical one, so we can track again who did what. And the exceptional contract ribbon, because for the time it's exceptional. Of course I think it's the 3 stars here, of course, that they refer to. We will explore the Mun, but we will not do that yet. I just want it in the bank there. I think also what we can do now that we start to get into the serious business of space travel, we can upgrade mission control. It's relatively cheap and it will give us a lot more space for new contracts. So there's our very first reward for our excellent work. And yes, let's see, is there anything else we can research? We can actually research stability, so let's do that as well. Keeping our spacecraft pointed generally in the right direction. You see, that's the idea. Right, we won't develop these parts yet. We'll do that when needed. But I will see you in the next episode, comrades. This was a fun episode. We worked towards a specific goal and we achieved it. Before the next one, I might do another no narration one. I'm not sure. If there's specific, suborbital flights that I want to do again, then I will do that. You can, of course, skip around in those episodes. I'll always put an NN in the title, so you'll know it's non-narration. But for those, the rule is I cannot have new crafts. So obviously with the Pulsar I made small adjustments to it, but it was the same general thing. I won't design totally new rockets or do any missions that we haven't done already. So that's the rule. But I'll see you again soon, comrades. Have a great day. And yes, isn't that a nice view? Fantastic. I'll never get tired of KSP.